Okay.
And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
What's up, man?
Yeah, yeah. You can both say hi. All right, but yeah, it's not the best intro. Let's do this over. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here on the front lines with my co-host
Tank
and
yeah, sorry.
and Lisa.
And sometimes Lisa.
And sometimes Lisa. Okay, Lisa's not was off cue. Oh, I want to do it one more time. Nah, that's not. So how's it going, guys?
So far, so good. Got lots going on, and everything's coming together. Still behind. I still didn't launch the voting yet for the Lawful America, but otherwise, the site's coming along great. Hopefully we'll get it done overnight. And I have not talked to Kim. I don't know what's going on with Kim because I've been inundated in trying to restore the Republic. So.
Have you checked your phone, Tank, to make sure she hasn't called? Because I know you've been
Yes, okay. I've checked. Yeah, I've checked.
I'm kidding.
I'm not that out of touch.
Okay.
As long as you have your ringer on, your notifications. So. Hey, I want to kind of go over one thing. I was kind of involved in a hoax, and I want to go ahead and just clear up one thing. It's not overly horrible, but it is definitely a hoax. I'm going to share that now with YouTube. There we go. So here it is. Does this month repeat every 823 years? All right. So I was told that or sent this information that said, hey, this December is only month in 823 years in which there are 5 Saturdays, 5 Sundays, and 5 Mondays. And it's the bag full of monies, and so it means, wealth and abundance. So I took that, and I was, and I liked that. I traced back, hey, what happened 823 years ago at the last time this happened, and that got me to find out about Sir William Fritz Oswald, and his rise up of the peasants in London against the elite. Right, basically they were trying, bringing the poor together to say, they don't want to be poor anymore, right? So I like that, but it turns out it's a hoax. So I looked, because I got a couple of people sending me emails about it, and I started looking and said, oh wow, it's actually this particular December doesn't have 5 Saturdays, 5 Sundays, and 5 Mondays. It does have 5 Monday, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays, or something like that. But anyway, it was interesting. Anyway, but I looked back. I don't know what the purpose of the hoax is, but it's been going on. So this is the same calendar that they're showing, but this was from 2014. Right? And so it says this year is the month of August. You'll count 5 Fridays, 5 Saturdays, and 5 Sundays. This phenomena occurs only once every 823 years. Chinese people call it pocket full of money. The other 4, it was like bags of money. So they've changed a few things. But I really don't understand what it is, why this hoax exists. There's a little video on it and things. But anyway, I just want to clear that up. But I am going to still use the December 25th at 12:01 a.m. Fiji time for the soft launch with the leaders for the new project, right? With
new project,
the new project. And I haven't said much about it, not the name or anything else, except calling it the new path forward. So, if anyone would care to join us on that day, please contact me via Telegram, and I will connect you. Everything is worked through Telegram. There's a Telegram group there. 150 people in there right now. And okay, that's all we need for the bag full of money's there. All right.
It reminds me, Dan. It reminds me of my crazy college professor, my sculpting professor. He's like a legend, right? He's John Stark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a very famous artist. And he was such a famous artist when he was younger. Then when he got older, he just didn't care anymore. So he had this big show. We had this big show, right? Like all the seniors had the show, and so all the professors, right? They like put their best work out, right? So this guy took a pair of his jeans, hung it on a hook, right? And then he just filled the pocket with like a bunch of like flyers and stuff, and he called it Pocketful. And he thought it was genius.
Yeah. I know. I've seen some very strange art, and I said, I'm sorry, these guys were just grasping at straws when they did this. Especially when they decide to say urinate in a glass jar, throw something else in it, and say, oh, this is the art. Those.
Well, you have all those weird, like creepy cabal artists, right? Who like work sculpting with blood and stuff. Yeah, a lot of strange things out there.
Yeah, I know a lot of artists tend to sculpt or paint with some unusual liquids, but
gross.
Yeah, I think I think that seems to be a pretty common theme. It's not original.
Nah, it's not original.
Not original at all. But anyway, that's I think let's move on a little bit past this. I've got a couple of things to go over. One, this is the busy week, right? Because we have the IG report released. We also have, at the same time, coincidentally, right, the impeachment hearings going on and the impeachment report. Now, of course, this was pretty much timed, so that it would come out at the same time, because they want to basically divert from the IG report, which says you're bad, you need to go to jail. right? And they're going to spin it to say it's really going to exonerate Comey, for example. It doesn't do that at all. But there's going to be a lot of garbage out there for this, next couple days of them trying to spin everything. And when it all said and done, there's only one thing that basically seems like it's the thing to focus on, and that's what came out of Grassley. So I'm going to go ahead and now, Tank and Lisa, you won't see this, but it'll be on YouTube. But I'm going to put up a video from Graham, and it's going to play in like over my shoulder here. Now, this is basically the only thing really that needs to be focused on because this is a foregone conclusion right now. They are done with they're going to vote on it, and it's going to go to the Senate. So the rest of this doesn't matter. They don't even need to have anymore. Nancy Pelosi on Friday said, just go ahead and write up the articles of impeachment. So the rest of this doesn't matter, right? But they're still fighting over it. But anyway, so this is what the important part is. Let's go through this.
Connecticut is looking at potential criminal liability regarding this matter. The Attorney General Barr and Mr. Horowitz. You have three different views. Well, I guess two of the views are that there was no lawful predicate to begin the investigation. I think Mr. Dunn says he had more information than Mr. Horowitz. But that's not my concern right now. Three lawyers can reasonably disagree, and I trust Mr. Horowitz to give an honest view. Let's assume for a moment there was a lawful predicate. The bar is really low to open up a counterintelligence investigation, and reasonable articulation is a pretty low standard in the law. The point I want to make is let's assume for a moment it started out okay. We sure as hell didn't end okay. What I see in this report, and nobody's reported yet, I hope some of you will look, is that while there may be reasonable differences about whether or not there was a lawful predicate, I believe there will be no debate among reasonable-minded people, particularly lawyers, about how the system not only got off the rails, but in my view became a criminal enterprise to defraud the advisor court, to deny American citizen Carter Page's constitutional rights, and to continue an operation against President Trump as President of the United States, I think is fundamentally flawed and unlawful. These are statements I don't make lightly, and these are statements based on the findings of the report. Unfortunately, at the Department of Justice and the FBI, there was a period of time when they went back to the good old days where they made stuff up. They misled people. So on page 186, it talks about the FBI identifying and interviewing the primary subsource for the Steele dossier. What I want you to understand is that Christopher Steele had a primary subsource, and this person had other people reporting to him, and that formed the basis of the dossier. What did the FBI find in January of 2017? That once they identified the subsource and actually interviewed the subsource says, the primary subsource told the FBI that he/she had not seen Steele's report until they became public that month, and that he/she made statements indicating that Steele misstated or exaggerated the primary subsource statements in multiple sections of the report. Primary subsource told the FBI that basically this was rumor and speculation, hearsay, bar talk, and he never believed that Steele would use the information provided in any official document. That should have been a red light for the Department of Justice and the FBI. Ladies and gentlemen, in January 2015 and thereafter, the primary subsource of the Steele dossier is telling the FBI and the Department of Justice that the Russian dossier is not reliable, that it was never meant to be used as an official document. It's all hearsay, rumor, bar talk, and he specifically talks about the episode involving President Trump and sexual activity inside of Russia, and says that was all rumor and speculation, word of mouth and hearsay. So what should have happened? Once the FBI and the Department of Justice was told by the primary subsource that the information in the dossier is not reliable, they had a duty, in my view, to report to the FISA court exculpatory information. Not only did they not tell the court that the subsource tracked out the document, this is what they told the court on page 190. Carter Page's renewal applications number 2 and 3 advised the court that following the January interview with the primary subsource, the FBI found the Russian-based subsource to be truthful and cooperative. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
The subsource said exactly the opposite. So not only did they continue to get a warrant against Mr. Page after being told by the primary source of the document that it's all garbage, hearsay, bar talk, not reliable, they got 2 more warrants using that document, and they described to the court the interview in January, found that the Russian-based subsource to be truthful and cooperative. I don't know who told the court that. I don't know who was in the meeting in January, February, but I want to find out who these people are, and they need to be held accountable. Because what they did, from that point on, this whole endeavor became a criminal conspiracy to defraud the court, to trample on the rights of the American citizen, Mr. Carter Page, and to continue an operation against drugs in the United States that I think is unreasonable. I cannot stress enough that all of us rely upon those with the power to follow us, surveil us, and to check on us to be honest and truthful. Nobody has mentioned a word about this yet. That on page 186 to 190 in the Horowitz report, it describes in great detail how the FBI found out that the subsource for the Steele dossier disavowed it. And they used it 2 more times to get warrants. They never told the court, and they actually lied to the court about the interview. That doesn't bother you? You hate Trump way too much. That should bother every American. And it gets worse. In June of 2017, one of the lawyers in the FBI who's supposed to review warrants, is told by the CIA that Carter Page is a source. What does he tell the FISA court? That he is not a source. He took the information supplied to him by the FBI and doctored an email so the court would not be aware of the fact that Carter Page was a source for the CIA. Why is that important? In building a case against Carter Page, they used the dossier. They tried to get a warrant in August and they couldn't. Somebody thought of the great idea of beginning to use the dossier to get a warrant. It apparently worked. But here's the problem. 3 people named in the dossier as having talked to Carter Page, believed to be foreign agents. Carter Page, while being wired unknown to him, said, I don't know these 2 people. And to this day, there's no proof that he met the 2 people he denies meeting. And that was one of the reasons they classified him as a foreign agent. The 3rd contact was with a person known to be a foreign agent, and he told the CIA about the contact because he was their source. Why is it important that they lied to the court? If the court had known that he had a reason to be talking to this person, it would have been completely different. That's why Mr. Kleinsmith lied. Because if that fact ever got confirmed, it would change the entire predicate they set up to the court as to whether or not Carter Page was a foreign agent. You cannot surveil somebody unless you have proof of So Wednesday, we're going to have a hearing, and we're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to try to find a way to make sure this never happens again. And here's what I hope people in your business will do. Read the entire report, not focus on the debate as to whether or not there was a legal predicate. I'm here to tell you that doesn't drive my thinking. I will assume for the sake of argument there was a legal foundation, but what I will not tolerate is how it got off the rails and how the FBI and the Department of Justice to continue this investigation, continually lie to the court, misled the court, manufactured evidence to hurt an American citizen and continue an operation against the President of the United States. That should bother all of us. What is this akin to? I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense attorney, I've been a judge. To me, this would be like getting a lab report saying that the person you're investigating, the fingerprints don't match, the DNA doesn't match, and instead of telling the court that, you say that it does. It was that obvious. The subsource, the person who prepared all the information for the dossier, told the FBI in January 2017, this is a bunch of garbage. Not only did they not stop using the garbage, they lied to the court about what the man said. Somebody needs to be held accountable for that, because the people who knew about that scenario, the people who knew that the subsource had disavowed the reliability of the dossier, to be held liable for being involved in a criminal conspiracy to defraud the FISA court. I don't know who knew, but we need to find that out. I hope Mr. Durham's looking at it. If I were Mr. Carter Page, I'd hire me on board. And I'd sue the hell out of the United States. This is a sad day. This is a dangerous set of circumstances. But there's better days ahead. Mr. Horowitz has identified the problem. He's helped us to fix it. I look forward to working with Democrats to make sure this never happens again. That we have rules around counterintelligence investigation. That we beef up the FISA court. I'm a pretty hawkish guy. And I'm dumbfounded and really upset about how this whole process was handled. Being a hawkish guy doesn't mean you don't care about the rules. The thing that protects us from being like our enemies is that we have rules. Even for Trump. Even for people we don't like. It's Trump today to be somebody else tomorrow. The goal here is to make sure it never happens again. And one of the ways to make sure it never happens again is that those who put the law in their own hands need to quit that.
All right, that's it. Well, I know it was a bit long, but that sums up everything that anyone needs to know, because he's laid out what actually happened, right? The rest of it is just garbage, right? They're going to be talking about everything from how it's, it was okay, the predicate was okay. He says he doesn't care. It doesn't matter if everything was okay. It didn't. If it was okay on the first minute, the second minute it wasn't okay. All right, they started committing fraud and literally treason in regards to the president.
Well, that's a real question that this is what I'm constantly just befuddled by. This whole thing is, what are we saying, Gary? You have your congressional officials, right? These representatives of each area. They represent the interests of the people. They take something that is, and they clearly lied about it, right? They had it and they completely misrepresented it in a false hearing, right? Their only saving grace is they're so used to manipulating the system based on, technicalities.
Right.
Then basically they're going to say, well, it wasn't a real court. Oh, why did you announce it? Why did you do all this? Matt Gaetz came out today and he lambasted the whole government, right, basically said something like, he's like, it's embarrassing, what we are right now. He said that at 13%, Gaddafi, his own people, hunted him down and stomped him out, and that Congress's approval rating is at like 9% right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a tragedy. And they're talking about, this woman had the nerve to say the other day that, Congress has passed like 300 laws. They haven't passed any law. Every time they pass a law now, it's loaded with some little caveat that says, and secretly Nancy Pelosi is the queen, right? It's like every time they do something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. The things that they are doing right now, in Nadler, there's so much there to cover, but Nadler has the obligation, because a rule was invoked by the Republicans, the minority party. It's a minority party rule, and they dug it up and they found it. And of course, they didn't make when they made the rules for their judicial committee for this hearing. They neglected to, cut that rule out. But because the Republicans found it, the minority party, it says that for one day, they can pull up any witness that they want. One day. And they invoke the rule, and Nadler refuses to hear it or basically action on it. He basically just keeps pushing it aside and say, well, I'll rule on that later. I'll rule on that later. And I think it was, maybe it was Gates or one of them today said, well, you can't, no, it wasn't Gates, one of the other guys. They said that you can't just wait until after the articles of impeachment are drafted to give us our day. Right. It's not, and nowhere in the rule does it say that you have the option to delay giving us a time. Right? That's not one of the part of the rule. We invoked it. You have to now schedule it. So, and he kept pushing that aside. He also was pushing aside, as Lisa had brought up earlier before we came on the air, was that he refused to have two of the witnesses under oath. He refused to put them under oath. Why? Right? Everything they do is basically a last-ditch attempt to stay in power. They have no other options. They are in such bad condition. They know if they don't stop this train from rolling, the Trump train is going to run right over them. Not only is he going to get into office, but the sweep of all of the different states, of all different offices across the board is going to be so widespread, they will not be able to get back into power ever. In fact, the Democrat Party will just dissolve. And literally, we shouldn't have any parties at all. This two-party system was never part of the Constitution. It never said that there should be parties. And there was a lot of debate when parties started to get formed, right? They didn't want to. I think before the Republican Party was there, I think it was there was a party called Whigs, right? And the remnants of the Whigs formed into the Republicans, right? But there was an argument at the beginning about not having parties at all because of it dividing people up. Just everyone be together, and act on the issues, right? And don't demonize.
Dan, it's interesting you mentioned parties. So in California, this is a meme, and it's been verified by our team to be true. Just to let everyone know, I received a card from the Register of Voters, and on the card are 4 options for registering to vote next year. Ballot option number 1, nonpartisan option 2, American independent option 3, Democratic option 4, libertarian. No place.
I think there's one missing.
Yeah, there's no place for Republican voters. So I called the Shasta County, and I gave the number, clerk, and found that if you want to vote Republican, you have to call them or go into the office and re-register as a Republican in order to be able to vote the presidential election for a Republican. California's sneaky way of hoping we the voters will not notice or take action. Is that ridiculous?
It's totally that's how desperate they are. Literally,
That's true desperation right there.
yeah. They have to do everything so openly, blatantly, before they're being sneaky about everything, slipping things in, slipping rules in that they let loose over the 20 years or so. But, it's been in place. They do everything so sneaky, but now they have no option. They're dead. If they don't do these things and try everything that they can, they're gone. They're not only just gone. They're a lot of them are going to be in jail.
Right. I'm not going to be too upset about that. You, Tank?
No, it's actually, this whole thing, it's embarrassing.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
as a country right now, it's embarrassing that this is even allowed to go on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's a group, that goes by the Republic, right? The one that made me the sheriff, right? And that became official on Sunday, right? And Paul Yokoyama became the second senator for the state of New York. And he's on top of it and doing that. And then we're also working with the National Liberty Alliance, right? Now these are common law groups, right? That are constitutional law groups, because one of the conceptions about common law is that people hear common and they think, commoners, but it's not. It's actually, it's a law that is common to everyone, meaning it applies to everyone, right? So, so I'm trying to bridge the gap between these two groups because they've met before and they didn't want to come together, right? And it's like, so now you have competing factions of the same idea, right? Which really doesn't work, right? So I know that there's some way that this is going to work out, that we're going to be able to bridge the gap and really, have some form of justice. Because the one thing that is obviously just woefully misrepresented in this whole process is that you don't have any justice. Because when it comes down to it, you expect the people that are in law to look at things fair and balanced regardless of their political views, right? You expect them to stand there and say, this is the evidence. We can see this is factual. Based on the evidence, this is our conclusion. And you almost want to take people's names out of it altogether, just to be fair. But they're not doing that, right? They're doing the exact opposite. Like, well, we don't care what's fair. I wanted to throw up the other day when I heard Nancy Pelosi talking about, violations of the Constitution with Trump.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever even read the Constitution, you crazy nutbag? What is she even talking about?
Well, I'm sure
first
she's read it so she can know how to subvert it.
Oh, no, there's no chance. There's no subversion of it. You know what it is they still think that draconian law is over the Constitution. That's what they think, right? They think they duped everybody, but it's just not true. At the end of the day, the fact that they are passing these things in New York, is a train wreck right now. I got a message today from one of my people in New York. They said that allegedly, as of January 1st, they're going to have a border patrol in New York, and if you try to leave the state, they're going to make sure you're vaccinated before you go. I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah. So, that's the kind of crazy stuff that they're, probably getting desperately trying to plan. And, and obviously, like, Cuomo's, he's getting ready to be the king of New York, he thinks, right? Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you what. I think about this all the time. I'm not leaving New York until I take that dude out. I'm going to expose that guy for the fraud he is. I swear. What a loser. They all think that they're doing something great. It's this whole, Gambino crime mafia that runs New York, right?
Right.
And they're everywhere. They're in every assembly, everybody. It's all hardcore, Black Dragon mafia guys, and they're all doing favors and doing, they all think they're above the system. At some point, the people got to stand up and say, I don't care who you think you are. You're not that important, So as the sheriff of New York, I got to figure out how to do that.
If I send you the gun, the badge, and the handcuffs, could you arrest Nancy Pelosi and some of these people that are just not behaving in New York?
if she comes to New York, believe me, I would arrest her just for showing up. I'd say you are in a violation of the Constitution. I have a lawful obligation to put you behind bars.
I would happily buy you the badge, the gun, and the whatever you need to do this. I mean, happy. Shaq, there's actually an article. Nancy Pelosi tells Europe she has equal power. Trump is not in charge.
Oh my gosh. This woman is insane. Her dementia is starting to kick in. I think it is going to have an effect on her being the Speaker of the House.
Yep, they don't. Yeah, she doesn't
Just
have
slightly, yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't have equal power. They have they're equal branches, each with their own sets of powers, right?
Right.
And you know, it's so she's delusional. Yeah. Well, we are. The good thing is that Trump is winning. We're winning. Trump is dismantling, this power structure. X22 report actually brought up some really good information. I've got another clip to share. Go ahead and pull this up. There we go. So this is about the World Trade Organization and basically, and some other things and how it's being dismantled. It's fantastic news, actually. So let's listen.
And we know going back to 1971, we went off the gold standard. We went onto the fiat system, and the central bankers, the deep state, they pushed their agenda from that point on. Now, of course, back in 1913, this is when they came into power, where they controlled the monetary system of the United States, so they could set up the central bank system across the world. And what did they do? They created the IMF. They created the BIZ. They created the World Trade Organization, the World Bank. This was all being done on purpose throughout this period to eventually bring us into a fiat system and have the central bankers the supreme rulers of the world. This was the plan since 1913. And Trump and the Patriots, they have been reversing all of this. Now, if we go back to the 70s, we had Paul Volcker with Nixon. And we come to find out that Paul Volcker, who was instrumental in bringing us from a gold standard onto a fiat system because of speculators and having an energy crisis during this period, he was one of the architects. He was one of those individuals that was part of all of this, and he passed away at 92. And Trump and the Patriots, they are continually pushing the plan forward. They need to remove as much of the globalist system as they possibly can, because in the end, what they're going to do is they're going to go after the central bank establishment. And it's just not the Federal Reserve. It's much, much larger than that. And we can see that Trump right now and his administration, the Patriots, they're going after the World Trade Organization.
This is the big one
So,
right here.
The Supreme Court of World Trade, otherwise known as the appellate body of the World Trade Organization, will cease functioning on Wednesday. The court is supposed to have 7 members, but it currently has 4 vacancies, with 2 more members retiring on Tuesday. That leaves 1 active judge, too short of the number required to rule on international trade disputes. Those vacancies have not been filled by the Trump administration. Remember, Trump has criticized the World Trade Organization for allowing China to retain its special status as a developing nation, though it's number 2 in the world economy, while looking the other way when it violates WTO rules. The World Trade Organization is one of several globalist institutions established at the end of the Second World War. And this is the World Bank, the IMF, and a lot of the central banks around the world.
All right, That's really the important part, right? You know, that they have now the World Trade Organization will not be able to rule on trade disputes. So what happens then? I mean, there's no way of enforcing anything under the WTO. World Trade Organization is effectively dead. Trump is not going to put anyone in there. You know, I mean, unless he may find it, unless he wants to stack it, right? maybe they've been trying to get some people in and they wouldn't accept them, so they're at a stalemate. Now they won't be able to function. But yeah, no, with them not in operation, it's clear sailing.
Well, tell you what, if you wanted to see Kim's influence, I'd say that's a pretty good sign. when the judges are stepping down, you know, from the World Trade Organization.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's the
well, two at once, and then Paul Volcker also dying at age. Now, it's a natural age to die, right? Up in your 93s, anytime, you know, up in your 90s. But you know, it's happening all at this time. You know. So, since Trump has come in the office, he's a lot of these major figures have been dying off that have put this, you know, this cabal, to, you know, banking system or this new world order together. They've all been, you know, packing up or checking out.
Right. Well, I think that's a pretty good sign of the times. You know, I would imagine that you know, Kim's, you know, it's got to be right on the verge of this whole thing breaking through. You know, I mean, if you look at all the ways, all the different places the United Nations has had control of everything, right? So the World Trade Order, the Bank of International Settlements, you know, that X-22 mentioned there, the IMF, you know, the World Bank. You know, these were all their efforts after World War II to bring the world under this one world government, which they failed at. You know, it's something that's not talked about enough. Like, they failed; they did not do it. And so now, what you're seeing is the residual of them holding on for dear life, trying to find out. You know, they're having an identity crisis, right? They don't know where they fit in the world anymore. Because where you fit in a world where you try to enslave everyone, and now all of a sudden they're waking up to say, wait a minute, we're not slaves. We don't have to let this happen.
Right.
That's
yeah, they're in a very odd position, right? They should be heading off to New Zealand. Oh, but New Zealand is going up in a volcano right now. Well, maybe.
Oh.
Oh, that must be some of the underground stuff going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I just found about that. You know, last night there's a volcano going off in New Zealand. I don't know. It seems like it's just an island, but I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, one of the islands of New Zealand is basically all one big smokestack right now.
Well, I'm going to start bringing, you know, after we get this first one and we get the process down a little bit, I'm going to start actually bringing up charges and violent things. And I think one of the first things to do is to go after the corrupt aspects of Congress. You know, Matt Gaetz mentioned it the other day. You know how what a debacle it is, right? But it's like, but who's actually bringing charges? You know, who's actually saying something about it, doing something about it?
Right.
You know, it's like, why are you get up in front of a stage and, you know, and you make a public statement? It's like, oh, you guys they're bad. It's ridiculous. Well, what do you? It's more than ridiculous. It's like, why isn't lawful action being taken to put these people in jail? You know, you just launched the most obvious coup.
Yep.
You misrepresented the people. You misrepresented the government. You've lied repeatedly, and then we're all supposed to just kind of sit back and say, "Yeah, it's fine." You know, we'll just turn it away because people are so used to this happening. You know, so used to it that no one even does anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Little side note: the volume the audio just changed on you. But it's better now than it was. Just, I don't know what you're doing different, but it sounds a little bit better, at least on my side. So yeah, well, this is the movie that we're watching, Panic in DC, the FISA Gate. All of it is just showing that they are losing control. We're watching them systematically be dismantled, and that this means, all of these existing financial pieces like the World Trade Organization, what's next? The G7, the G20, they need to, they could probably stay, but they need to be transformed, right? Because it's really about not making one world government in which you have this. Who was going to be the leader at that time, right? It was going to be China, right? They were making China the powerhouse, moving all the manufacturing, all the money, everything to China. Now we have the World Bank lending money to China.
Wow, that's scary.
Why?
Who cares? The World Bank doesn't have any money.
Well, sure. It comes by that way of the IMF, but it's the authorization comes from the
the IMF doesn't have any money either. These organizations are broke. They're just trying to create the illusion of stability.
Sure.
They're trying to stall.
Right.
Yeah, they're stalling, but it's all of this vapor money that they've had out there, the fiat. They keep moving it around, but they're moving it into Chinese hands right now because China doesn't have the money to stay afloat. Even the because they're this money their how to say this, their economy has to hum at a certain rate to keep all of their people fed, and if it falls below that, and it already was falling below that a while back, but now with all these tariffs and things that have been put on by Trump, it's going to make it much more difficult. So that's why they're out of this Western cash, so they can't circulate, right? If they didn't have this paper money, it would really just they couldn't pay people, they couldn't buy food, they couldn't do things. So now it's just interesting that this money is going to end up going into America anyway, into the U.S. Treasury. So that's because they're going to pay their tariffs with it. Right? So ultimately, but it's this currency only works if it's flowing, right? If it has the currency, if it's flowing, and the faster it flows, the more energy it has. So if they don't have it because Trump is taking it out, then they need to get it someplace else where they collapse. And I think that's ultimately the goal of Trump, is to have not really about China in per se, but but the communists die around the world, to basically remove this as a cancer against all of humanity.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's pretty. It's kind of like, okay, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, even what's happening with the Democrats and their candidates. It's really a choice between communism and socialism. Socialist dictatorship or communism.
Yeah.
Gee, such great choices.
Yes,
Manuel, which one should I pick?
Are you a syphilis or herpes?
Your choice.
Your choice. Yeah, you have free will though. You're free here.
You're free, yeah.
Yeah, free to choose. The only way to win the game is not to play, right?
That's what Kim always says. Yeah.
I love that.
And I think that is, that's what she's done. She's outplayed them by not playing. While they think she's making deals, I don't think Kim has had any intention of going forward with any of them. Because they're not honorable. Can't trust them. So what sense does it make?
Right.
To make deals with the devil? It's like they never honor their deals. They never follow through. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this being free. You know, if the WTO goes down, great. I don't care. You know, all I care about is us rising up. You know, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to keep putting things in place, whatever I can do. You know, on a budget, you know, I'm doing on a budget as long as I can to try to get us free.
Well, I see it as a sign of us rising up. You know, these things that are being torn away and set aside, it makes room for us to move forward.
I agree.
I think we do have a call coming up shortly. So is there anything you want to talk about on our website?
Sure. Yeah. Just to give you guys an idea, I almost got I almost had the Guardian up and running, or the Law of America up and running.
I do have it set if you want me to show it. Oh, you're going to show it. Okay.
You've loaded a lot more stuff in there today.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it through.
Okay.
So yeah. So here's the home page, right? So we're gonna have some kind of instructional video here that we can kind of give people. And the idea is we're actually going to introduce the actual law, the actual Declaration of Independence, portion that would be there, to talk about why this has to happen. Because, Declaration of Independence basically says when governments become unruly, that the people have to stand up and do something. So then what will happen is you'll go into, it won't say instructions, but so this word, by the way, I know it doesn't go off the tongue, resentment. That's actually from the Black's Law dictionary, referring to the process of declaring a grand jury, which is what we're doing. And it goes through the actual language from the Black's Law dictionary. And you can see this explain what we're going to do is we're going to bring accusations up against these parties, and we're going to present evidence. And I'm not sure exactly what to do. The Solicitor General is supposed to present the grand jury. And, and I don't know if there's a full-time grand jury in place that would be called prosecutor. But this is different. This is a grand jury that's called by people, right? So we get to, elect a grand jury. And in so doing, it should be a fair representation of the people. It has to be a minimum of, well, this says different things. From what I've told, it's a minimum of 24 members. And basically, and it's all done in private, right? So that nobody knows who they are because you don't want anybody to get killed, right? And matter of fact, even the accusations against the parties, they're done in private. So they don't even know who's being convicted. And so what will happen is, we get a bunch of members, people sign it up, that's good. And so then what will happen is that they'll click on this link, and then this goes through the actual affidavit. And it goes through all of the lawful definitions, it goes through the process of what's happened, that how unalienable rights are just that. You cannot be alienated from them. And what they're doing right now, which is terrifying, right? They're doing this everywhere. The CDC, we actually put the video on here, where the CDC actually says that, they determined that all these state departments need to get rid of all of the exemptions pertaining to vaccines. But they go a step further, right? And they say, well, technically we can't force anyone to take vaccines. But what we can do is we can threaten them, to make so their kids can't go to school, take their kids, put them in child protective services. I mean, they talked about this openly at the CDC meeting, right? And we had people there, so we said they don't want that out. But the whole idea is that people will be able to go through this, just like, you have to read it pretty thoroughly, obviously. And it defines terms like there is no way to confirm a contract as an American here under implied consent. Now, implied consent is something they're using right now. And so then you go here and go into evidence. Now, this is a case file, right? And so each time I'm just going to go through it and go to the next one. And this one actually looks much better on the regular website. This is on my phone now right now. But it's much more organized. I'll have all this organized and just go through each piece of the evidence one at a time and explain what it is. You know, obviously, there's all white text behind it with us on my phone, and then we'll basically just vote after it. Then I have a voting system all set up, and we run on the sites. And, so I thought I had it done today, but I just can't quite get it done, to be honest. And I keep adding to it because there's such an overwhelming amount of evidence to show all the ways that we have violated our freedoms. It's a train wreck. You know, it's unbelievable. It's real sometimes. That's what we have.
Yep, I get it. So it's good work. You know.
Well, we'll pull that. We'll actually have a grand jury, and we will actually have that printed up in the Library of Congress and officially, and that will actually, it's already law. So it's just a matter of really informing them of the laws that they violate.
So it's already law because
it's the Constitution. That's all we're doing. I mean, this is the law. What we're doing is not a new process. This is the process. People just don't know it, so nobody would do it, right?
But I actually for the process, can you go over what that was, what that process was?
Well, yeah. What you do is, okay, so you basically gather your evidence, right, your claim, and you're supposed to present it to the Solicitor General, which is like the head of the grand jury. Which I don't know if there is an official Solicitor General, but in the meantime, I'll be playing that part, and so. And basically, you gather the evidence together, you present it to the grand jury, and you basically make sure you have all the right pieces, and you make sure that it's valid and true. Then you decide if you're going to draw indictments on it, right? And then you call together a grand jury. And what you're looking for is if the grand jury votes on the information, right, and they say, yes, this is all true, this is a violation of the Constitution, they are unlawful for doing it, then what you have is a true bill. And the true bill you can present. Now, a true bill is law. So when the true bill is presented, the parties who are being accused, it's already been decided. There's no further trial, nothing. They are, in violation of the Constitution, period, and whatever their crimes are, they're now accountable. And so they have to make, restitution for that, whether that's their time or money or whatever. And so that we take that and the grand jury presents it, and the way it's done is it's actually published, so it's made public. Right? This is like how the 13th Amendment, the original one that talks about no nobility can hold a seat in the government, like that was published in 8 different gazettes. So that's law to this day. But that's how you do it. You publish it in a gazette, and in this case, we publish it in Washington, D.C. And they have a certain amount of time to respond and deny or whatever the claims. But this information is already been established. We already know they're guilty of this.
It's undeniable.
But so and we're going to get it into the Library of Congress, and then in doing that, a lot of this stuff that you're seeing now, all the people who are arguing these laws, they keep getting pushed out in summary judgment. Well, when you have this actually become a law in modern times, because nobody does this anymore, now it's law. It's in the Library of Congress. This is the law. We're reminding you and we're showing how you're in violation. So now when they go to try to encourage vaccines, everyone has a lawful, foundation. They can say, no, this is the law. There is no emergency. This is the law, actually. It's in Black's law. This is in the Constitution. There is no emergency that usurps the actual rights of the people. So you can't take away the unalienable rights of the people because you deem that there's an emergency.
Right.
And even if it's a war, so you can't violate the rights of the people. So, it's basically will give people the teeth to start, fighting. And then we have vaccine groups all over the country already ready to go. And they're all about voting, all participating, contributing. And we're going to hand out not flyers, but we're actually going to send certified letters to, if they don't comply and immediately put an injunction on the vaccines to start, then we will start to serve everyone. We will start to serve every government employee. Because every government employee who's allowed this to go on and not said anything, they are complicit with violating not just constitutional rights, but human rights that go back to international law. So, and that's a goal. And then, if you do that and you actually get people involved on that level and they realize what's happening, it's a way to bypass the mainstream media and all the blocks they have on us, on social media, and basically get people on the ground who are actively involved, who are printing up letters, sending certified letters to schools, to principals, to teachers, to lawyers, to everybody in the government seats. And then, they have to respond by law. So that's the basic game plan.
And if they don't respond, what happens?
If they don't respond, you can put liens on their houses. You can, there's all types of things, right? And there's like a whole list of things you keep doing, and it basically says you keep attacking until they comply. Because if you don't, you'll lose your republic. Which, it's a glimmer of a republic right now, right?
It's shining bright. Just around the edges. You gotta remove that silhouette, that black shadow that's there. Yeah. All right. Well, so when should we go to the site and go through it and vote?
Well, I thought I would have it done today. I'm very, very close. I should have it finished and rocking up. I expect to have it up and running by tomorrow, probably by the end of the day tomorrow. It'll be, I'm now, because I missed something deadline, so I'm going to just take my time and get it glitch free and make sure it's clear and it actually makes a statement. By tomorrow, 5 o'clock, when you get up tomorrow, it should be good to go.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. All right, we'll look forward to that then. Anything else for today?
No, that's it, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks, Lisa.
We're good. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. More often. More often, Lisa. All right.
Yeah,
so,
more often.
all right, and everyone, we'll catch you tomorrow, and we'll see if we're still, broadcasting on this channel tomorrow. That is today.
Oh yeah, tomorrow's D-Day, isn't it? For
Well,
for
it's the 10th.
YouTube.
It's the 10th for me, so that's why I wasn't sure. I don't know what time zone that they were working off of, right? But tomorrow we'll see. But everything's been downloaded on this channel, so we just have to upload it, right? So, anyway, but we'll see how that goes. All right, everybody. We'll catch you then tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Good night. Good night, guys.
Bye.